demonstrations,
to be seen as a hero rescuing people from police stations when they are arrested out of whatever they are arrested on in the streets.
As a leader,
And we are here as leaders, Honorable Speaker.
And we are here as leaders, Honorable Speaker.
As a leader and as leaders,
Honorable Speaker, we must do that what is right.
Honorable
When
Speaker,
this administration came to
power,
about 2 years ago, our fiscal deficit,
leaders, Honorable Speaker.
and we are here as leaders, Honorable Speaker.
As a leader and as
leaders, Honorable Speaker, we were projected to borrow 1.1 trillion
when this administration came to power about 2 years ago.
Today, Honorable Speaker,
with the budget that this House adopted,
fiscal deficit,
and we are here as leaders, Honorable Speaker, we were projected to borrow economic policy. When this administration came to power about 2 years ago, with the budget that this House adopted, fiscal deficit, and we are here as leaders,
not you are able to deliver on the promises and the pledges you made to them on delivery of services. It shall not be possible to deliver services, to build roads, to build schools without generating not you are able to deliver on the promises and the pledges you made to them on delivery of services. It shall not be possible on borrowed money to deliver services without generating Honorable Speaker, it became clear, not just to us within the country, but to the world at large, that Kenya was never and was not about to default on its debt obligations, Honorable Speaker. That is why, Honorable Speaker, today, unlike 2 years ago when the price of unga was at a high of 260 shillings, today the price of unga is at a low of 100 shillings, courtesy of the right economic policies and not what is populist.
Give him 2 minutes to wind up.
I have 15.
Pardon?
I have 15, they had timed 10, and the interjections.
I'll give him an additional 3 minutes. Yes, Wamshomba, hold the time. Wamshomba, what's your point of order? And under what standing order?
Mr. Speaker.
Give her the mic. There's one next to you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise under standing order number 90. As a member who has pecuniary interests on matters sanitary towels, as a user, because I'm a user, do I qualify?
Can you repeat that you are?
I am standing on the strength of standing order number 90.
Yes.
As a member who wishes to speak on this matter of sanitary towels as a user.
That's yourself?
Yes.
You are out of order. Take your seat. If you had in the morning the Honorable Tenda Molo, although he did the right thing wrongly, when you challenge somebody, take your seat, understanding order 91, you're challenging the member on the floor who has pecuniary interests, not on the basis of your own pecuniary interest. Go ahead.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I was saying 2 years ago, unga, when we speak about the cost of living, unga was at a high of 260 shillings. Today, unga is at a low of about 100 shillings, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, our exchange rate, the Kenya shilling to the dollar, almost a year ago, it was at a high of 162 shillings. Today, it is at a low of 128 and still going down, Honorable Speaker. courtesy of the right economic policies, courtesy of pursuing what is right rather than what is popular, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, in the past, we have suffered what was described as state capture, Honorable Speaker. This bill, Honorable Speaker, in a big way addresses the question of state capture. Honorable Speaker, there are companies in this country that have survived largely on what is called tax expenditure and manipulating the system around tax expenditure, Honorable Speaker, especially around the question of VAT refunds. This bill, Honorable Speaker, is addressing the loopholes that bedevil our country through people who are well connected, who use the system to beat the tax system, Honorable Speaker, exploiting tax refunds to make bigger profits for their companies, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, speaking to state capture, Honorable Speaker, we built an SGR infrastructure over 10 years ago.
You have 1 minute.
You would be shocked today, Honorable Speaker, there are people who are still claiming tax deductions around buildings that were done with the SGR. This bill is bringing to an end from the 1st of July those deductions courtesy of the SGR, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, I know there are people who are mobilized because they have been benefiting from the system, Honorable Speaker, hiding behind civil society, funding civil society, Honorable Speaker, and the civil society, Honorable Speaker, mobilizing negative propaganda against this bill. I want to implore our members, do what is right, do what is good for the economy, do what is good for your generation, future generations, Honorable Speaker, what will secure our nation's economy, not that.
Your time is up. Nabii Nabwera. Nabii Nabwera.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to raise a number of issues.
Yes, Millie Odhiambo, what is the problem? The women are also here. I can see them.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, order, Nabii. Yes, Gichunga, what is the point of order?
Honorable Speaker, because Honorable Millie was not on record, you may not have heard what she said, but she said she wants to speak as a former user. Honorable Speaker, of sanitary items. What I did not understand whether it was sanitary towels or diapers. Maybe she can clarify whether it was sanitary towels or diapers.
Nabii, order. Yes. Yes, Honorable Junet, what is out of order? Hold Nabii's time.
Mr. Speaker, you have heard clearly what the majority leader has said. He is asking under what category of women do Millie Odhiambo fall? Because she's claiming that she's a former user of sanitary pads. And in the finance bill, we are discussing sanitary pads, and we want to reduce the taxes. Is she going to benefit from that? Is she opposing or supporting, Mr. Speaker?
Order, Millie. You don't need rocket science to understand what you said. I understood you clearly, and we don't want to engage in debate. Nabii Nabwera, continue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, today, I've had a lot of time to reflect on whether this country, we want to move it forward, we want to have it stagnant, or we want even to become repugnant. I'm saying this, Mr. Speaker, because any progressive country, any progressive system, we should have started by looking at our 2023-2024 Act, Finance Act, and asked ourselves the question, has it served us well? Number two, we should have asked us, we intended to collect a certain amount of money. Did it help us collect that money? Number 3, what has been the business performance for the period that 2023-2024 covered? And finally, Mr. Speaker, we should ask ourselves, has the current Finance Act helped us to mobilize savings? What is our saving ratio as a country? Mr. Speaker, as I look at that and evaluate the 2023-2024 Finance Act, I return a performance ratio of 44%. With that kind of performance ratio, you cannot come up with another act, a bill to repeal that act, which increases the number of taxes, the amount of taxes to the public. Because you have failed to collect over 300 billion. Mr. Speaker, whereas the chairman of the Finance Committee presented to us a report here, which looked progressive, unfortunately, it fell short of curing the problems in this bill. What are the problems in this bill? Mr. Speaker, if you look at Schedule 4 and Schedule 3, then you return a no acceptance to this bill. One, if you look at the 10% duty on Kilinga, you are only improving the status of one business person. When you look at the duty on billet, you are improving the status of the same person. You cannot create a law that only ensures that one particular individual or one particular entity of business thrives at the expense of the others. Mr. Speaker, whereas one would want to forgive the drafters of this bill for imagining that if you removed tax or if you remove the sanitary towels that are locally manufactured, then you have cured the problem, is lying. I've talked to my own daughters in the house. They tell me the sanitary towels they use are all imported. So in other words, when you see the young girls going to the streets and asking us whether wasinyeshe, they mean it. Because you are making their life unbearable. Mr. Speaker, I want to pick on an issue here. And this issue is based on Schedule 4. If you look at all the taxes under Schedule 4, on telephone, on all those things there, they are meant to help improve businesses. Now, if we are levying taxes on them, and already the business community is underperforming, how do we intend to raise money? If this country cannot mobilize savings, then we rather shut up and close it. I'm asking the drafters of this bill, and the chairman, with due respect, if you wanted to help us as a country with all those changes you made, they were fundamental, then the bill loses its original form. Then you should have withdrawn the bill and given us another bill. Mr. Speaker, I oppose.
Dorothy Ikiara. Dorothy Ikiara.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on the outset, I say I support this bill. And Mr. Speaker, I was seated here in the House and I participated actively in passing the budget and appropriation bill when it was presented before this House. Honorable Speaker, we did come up with a lot of issues because, Honorable Speaker, we promised Kenyans on very many pledges when we were being elected. And inside this house today, Honorable Speaker, each and every member did give pledges. And we know what that means, Honorable Speaker. We promised the electorates good roads. We promised them medicine in the hospital. We promised them proper education for their children. And Honorable Speaker, this informs us of where we are today as a country. Honorable Speaker, since Kenya faces both a physical deficit and a budget deficit, the finance bill serves as a key legislative tool for the government. It combines revenue-enhancing measures with expenditure rationalization as a strategy to manage and reduce these deficits. Honorable Speaker, for the first time, a finance bill is similar to the medium-term review, and this is better for our country in terms of consistency and planning. This finance bill today that we are looking at, Honorable Speaker, is people-centered. I'm saying this, Honorable Speaker, because I personally participated when the Finance Committee, led by the very able Chair, Kuria Kimani, was going around seeking public views on what they had proposed in the budget. Honorable Speaker, and it is for this reason that after the recent passively to the citizens of this country, they did come up with a laughter of changes that are all in favor of the citizens of this country. Honorable Speaker, aside from the key highlights, which the Finance Committee addressed, some of these proposals that they had proposed initially have now been dropped. Key is 16% VAT on bread. Honorable Speaker, they resent to the members of public and it is not there anymore. VAT on transportation of bulky things like sugarcane, they resent to the citizens and they removed. No increase in the mobile money transfer. Honorable Speaker, yesterday as I was passing through one of the streets in Nairobi, I had members, I had the people who are shouting, the citizens of this country who are severely misled that mobile money transfer will not be removed. Honorable Speaker, I want to say the committee resent to the citizens, and this is one of the things that was removed, Honorable Speaker. Excess duty on vegetable oil, edible oil, is no longer there, Honorable Speaker. Then, Honorable Speaker, as the majority leader has alluded to, what this bill has tried to do, Honorable Speaker, it is to promote the local manufacturers. Honorable Speaker, it is very clear that moving forward, the local manufacturers, like the locally assembled bikes, they will be assembled duty-free as opposed to the imported ones. Honorable Speaker, we have also another very good advantage that the e-team has been excluded from farmers and small businesses who have a turnover below 1 million. And Honorable Speaker, this is a clear manifestation that this government is a bottom-up government as we had promised the electorates. Honorable Speaker, I want also to unveil the key achievements, Honorable Speaker, in this bill, especially for the employed Kenyans, Honorable Speaker, where the allowable pension has been extended from being taxed from 20,000 to 30,000. This is an achievement for our workers and the salaried people, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, out of what this bill has addressed, and very importantly, Honorable Speaker, we are at a time when our country is struggling with cancer, Honorable Speaker. And this time, the Finance Bill 2024 has reduced the cost of cancer drugs and exempted them from value-added tax, that is VAT. And this initiative, Honorable Speaker, is designed to alleviate financial pressure on patients and enhance access to medicine, cancer medicine, Honorable Speaker. And we are doing this when the country is struggling with increased cancer cases. I want to pinpoint a place like Meru County where cancer is on the rise, Honorable Speaker. And this bill, having removed cancer tablets, cancer medicine, and VAT-free, Honorable Speaker, this is a great achievement for cancer patients in this country. Honorable Speaker, we also want to underscore the achievement of employment of teachers. The education sector has been given a very huge budget, and out of this budget, Honorable Speaker, we are proud that all the teachers who are employed as interns, 46,000 of them will be turned to permanent and pensionable, Honorable Speaker, so that they can be able to bridge the gap in our education sector. Honorable Speaker, we know too well investment in human capital is the one single investment that every progressive country must make. Honorable Speaker, education is very key in ensuring that we become globally competitive amongst our equals, Honorable Speaker. And employment of the 46,000 teachers, coupled with the 56,000 teachers who are employed last year, Honorable Speaker, this makes the greatest achievement that this Kenya Kwanza government has achieved in ensuring that in a span of 2 years, we have employed 102,000 permanent and pensionable teachers. On top of that, Honorable Speaker, there is another cohort of the 20,000 who will equally be employed on temporary or internship, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, this is an achievement that we must all loud and welcome, because our youth, whom we promised jobs during that time of campaign, they are getting jobs and being absorbed in various areas. Honorable Speaker, I want also to say this financial bill 2022 includes provision to support individuals with also chronic diseases. Honorable Speaker, by establishing the emergency kitty, the SHIP, chronic and critical illness fund under the new social health insurance, this fund will cover treatment. Honorable Speaker, it is evident that a majority of people who suffer from chronic diseases, they go through a very difficult moment. And this bill 2024 has been able to cure this. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, I strongly support this finance bill 2024, and I support. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Dorothy. Millie Odhiambo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I wish to start by saying that one of my favorite books is Good Girls Never Get the Corner Office. Mr. Speaker, this is in response to what you are telling me earlier in the morning when you are urging me to be a good example to the girls, the younger ones who are doing their first term. Mr. Speaker, if they are good girls, they'll never get corner office. Be as bad as Millie Odhiambo, you will be the mother of this house. I am a bad girl, and as a bad girl, I'm here serving my 4th term. So do not be cheated like the African culture where you are told have decorum, dress nicely, be kind, be nice. I'm telling you, you will go nowhere. Be a bad girl like me and you'll get somewhere. Mr. Speaker, having said that, I wish to declare my interest under the standing orders number 90, which Wamushomba stood on, because I don't want to be declared disorderly. And that is because when you have a pecuniary or personal interest, you declare. And Mr. Speaker, I want to declare my interest as a former user of sanitary towels, and as Dynasty as a former user of diapers, and as a future user of diapers. Because as a woman, once you get menopausal, you will have leaks and you will use diapers. And Mr. Speaker, I want to say, it's not all women, so Rosa should not be worried, but there are women who get leaks. And I want to say that there are people, because we don't want to have shame over menopausal issues, we don't want shame over period. And Mr. Speaker, I am saying this because I've been sitting here today listening patiently to the men talking about sanitary towels that is in the finance bill. And they are speaking with authority. If we wanted to save money, the way the finance committee has done, and want to tax anything else, go and tax men innerwears. Go and tax men innerwears. Don't speak on our issues as women. Let us be the one to speak about sanitary towels. We are the ones who know what works for us, and you are saying we want to encourage the local manufacturing. While you are waiting to enable our local manufacturing agencies to create those sanitary towels, will we tell our periods to stop? Our periods will not stop while you are manufacturing. Our girls will have their menses as usual, and the cost that they are used to will be higher because that will come through underground. What I am saying is, Mr. Speaker, I do not support the finance bill. And I'll give you the reasons why I don't support it. One, I don't support it because it's devoid of a strong policy underpinning. Number two, I don't support it because it's not premised on a better model, but on a beta model. The KK government told us that their things are premised on BETA, but increasingly we are seeing it premised on BITTER, beta model. That's why I'll not support it. And Mr. Speaker, the other reason I will not support it, it's because it encourages opulence. Look at how much money I have. Look at the price of my watch. I have a 5 million watch, and I'll explain why, Mr. Speaker. So do not be in a hurry to ask me to explain. I'm going to explain. Mr. Speaker, number one, the one I've talked about, the tax system that is devoid of a strong policy underpinning or premised on a flawed policy underpinning. I will give you the example of the eco-levy that seeks to strike a balance between the economy and ecology but fails miserably to do that. Mr. Speaker, if I give you an example, this government has actually sponsored or facilitated the roads in Fangano Island and the tarmac in Rusinga Island, even though they are taking pretty long. And I want to tell you, Mr. Speaker, that if you are to use this model, the taxing model that they are saying, then it means that a contractor who is doing those roads and earning billions on those roads, Mr. Speaker, when they destroy the environment, the fishermen from Rembaringiti, Rusinga, Mfangano, and Sukuru Island, who will be making at most 1,000, will be asked to repair that person's damage through tax, forgetting the PPP principle. The person who destroys is the one who should pay that damage, not me. The fisherman of Omena making 1,000, you're expecting me to pay the tax of a person who is earning billions doing that road. I do not support this tax. Mr. Speaker, I can give you another example. Mr. Speaker, the second example I'm going to give is on the issue of the smartphones again. And I want to thank Honorable Rachel Nyamai, who actually said that one of the ladies that she's sponsoring her education, when she talked to her, the lady told her, I'm here doing TikTok. And we do not actually seem to understand how that relates to this tax. Now I'll tell how it relates to this tax. Mr. Speaker, if you are taxing digital content, Mr. Speaker, this girl has gone to town. I can tell you after this, Rachel Nyamai, myself, and others will be on TikTok. The girls will be imitating us on TikTok. And they will be making money imitating us on TikTok. And then under this tax, we are telling them we are taxing you, TikTok. Why? They are doing that because there are no jobs. They have become innovative and look for their own jobs. And after they have got their own jobs, an industry that has not solidified, like teaching, like law, we want to kill that industry that is helping our young people. That is why the Gen Zs were on the streets. And Mr. Speaker, I'm so thrilled that I was shown a photo of a young girl who looks like me, and some people were saying, Millie, we can see you are here now, you can retire. And I wish she was in my constituency, I would have retired tomorrow. And Mr. Speaker, yesterday, my own niece, who I am the one who was raised since she was in primary school, she's lived in my house. I was with her. And I tried all the means to try and divert her attention from what was going. How she managed to sneak in, and this morning she's telling me, and Mr. Speaker, before I got to what she was telling me, I told her, can I give you a lift to town? She told me, no, Auntie, I cannot be associated with members of parliament. Your generation, you have messed this country. We have to fix it. Gen Z. If we do not take Tuesday, Super Tuesday, as a wake-up call as a country, I don't know what else will take up as a wake-up call as a country. And I want to tell the president, who I served with in the same committee in parliament, who was my classmate in the university, fire those guys that you have hired who are giving you economic advice. They are not helping you at all. How do you even imagine bringing something like taxing bread, even if it is as a joke? That is a joke carried too far. That is a joke carried too far. You can crack doctors elsewhere. You can find a situation where the young people have banned the country based on your joke. Try those jokes elsewhere. Because Kenyans are suffering. Kenyans are tired of being taxed. And if we cannot listen to the Kenyans who are tired of being taxed, we have no business being in this house. We must listen to the Kenyans. And I want to say that you have done well in trying to deal with some of those issues. But there are still very many that are still here, Mr. Speaker. Because we have a short time, I may not mention all of them. But I want to say, like, for instance, the eco-levy. We are talking about trying to be environmentally friendly. Yet the things that we are taxing, we are not doing exactly that, Mr. Speaker. And we are taking away jobs of young people by the tax. Look at the increase in fuel. We are taking with the right hand. We are saying we are removing the tax with the right hand and adding with the left hand. Mr. Speaker, I had a lot to say about this, but I can see my time is almost up. And what I can see on my side, they want to add me. But I want to say that because of time I may not speak, but I just want to urge the president, fire the guys who are around you, listen to Kenyans. I was speaking to some of my colleagues here. Thank goodness I've been here for a long time. I was speaking, Mr. Speaker, if you could humor me by just giving me 1 minute, and I'll conclude.
Conclude.
Thank you. I appreciate. Mr. Speaker, I was speaking to some of my colleagues here, and I will not mention their names. About 3 weeks ago, they know because I talked to them yesterday, and I was telling them, your ground is getting terrible. And they told
Time up. Pukose Robert. Your time is up, Millie. Take your seat. Order, Angela.
Mr. Speaker, I'm standing under Standing Order 97-3, as read together with 1. Honorable Bowen had requested that, this is a very important bill that the Kenyans are watching, and they want to hear what their members of parliament are saying about this, and whether they have listened to their issues that they have raised about this bill. So will I be in order to ask that we reduce the time to 5 minutes, no, even up to tomorrow, to 5 minutes, so that each member, we are 349 members. If each of us was to take 10 minutes, it would take us up to 2 weeks from now. Yeah, 3 months. Surely, we should be fair so that everybody can make a contribution to it. I have not contributed, and I've been here since morning. Yeah? Yes. So I start with me to have 5 minutes.
Order, honorable members. Earlier on in the morning, member for Marakwet, is it East? Bowen Kangoko raised the same issue. Now it's popping out again. Are we comfortable with 10 minutes or we reduce to 5 minutes? Order. Yes, Rafael Wanjala. Wanjala, I see you raising. Round 5. Otienda Amolo. Order. Otienda Amolo. Support 5. Order, honorable members. I will put the question. Will those who want the time to be reduced to 5 minutes say aye? Aye. Will those who want to retain 10 minutes say nay? Nay. The ayes have it. Okay, because order, honorable members, and I think I think it's only fair and just because my screen is bursting with requests. So in 5 minutes, you know, my teacher used to tell me, if you can't make your point in 2 minutes, you are unlikely to make it in 30 minutes.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I stand to support this finance bill with amendments. Having listened to the people whom we represent, having complained about VAT on bread, having complained about the 2.5% tax on the vehicles, having listened to them that we want to create jobs for our people. Honorable Speaker, I want to thank the committee, and I want to tell the public that the committee is made up of members from both the opposition and the government side, or the minority and the majority. So this bill was not made by Parliament. It was done by the executive and it's been brought to the House. Your members of Parliament have listened to what you wanted to be amended. And therefore, we want to pass it with those amendments, and that is the essence of the public participation. This bill was brought to the public participation and it goes through the process. Honorable Speaker, when you listen to people outside there saying, reject the bill, this bill is also important because it has to raise part of the revenue to finance what the public requires from the government. And because it has to finance that, as we speak today, we've raised the money for counties to 400 billion. This bill is going to raise 346 billion. That 346 billion will be added with what is being collected in taxes to make it 400 billion so that the counties can have money to offer services. This is going to meet the budget deficit from what the government is collecting. So it is what the government continues to collect. And we need the public to understand that when a finance bill is done, it is a bill that will come into effect to support what the budget requires for the government to deliver. And therefore, we cannot say reject it in total, but you can also suggest what amendments should be done. And I think as people's representatives, we want to ask our Kenyans who are outside there, if you have amendments, you can approach your member of parliament, and the member of parliament can still have time to create that amendment. So the issue of saying reject the bill, I think should not be there. But we should be able to make those amendments, and I hope that our counterparts from the minority side will support those amendments so that we can be able to deliver and make sure that we have listened to what the Kenyan public demands of us. With those few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I support with amendments.
Honorable members, before I go to the next speaker, allow me to go back to order number 5 and allow the chair, JLAC, to table a very important paper in furtherance of one of the NADCO bills. Murugara, get a working mic. Give him a working mic.
Back by seat. Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. My young son here must be advised that he should not make use of his father's seat. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Wednesday, 19th June 2024. Report of the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs on its consideration of the Senate amendments to the Independent Electoral and the Boundaries Commission Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 10 of 2024. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. We go back to the bill. Makali Mulu.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to confirm that I've taken time to read through the bill itself and the report, which is 389 pages. Honorable Speaker, the idea of using 5 minutes is good, but I think it also discourages some of us who take time to read some of these reports. But I want to see this. Reading through the report, a lot of individuals and institutions did present their comments to the Finance and Planning Committee. And I want to appreciate them because based on the experience of last year, where the same number gave their comments and they were never taken on board, this time I thought they would not be able to appear. So we must appreciate. I also want to thank the committee for creating time to listen to them, and they made some efforts to factor in their comments, Honorable Speaker. But I was asking myself, Honorable Speaker, looking at the original bill, you wonder what was the thinking behind some of the proposals. And that's why I want to thank the committee because they have been able to undo some of them. But because I don't have a lot of time, I'll focus on what the report is saying and what I think from where I stand, that things have been made worse instead of being made better. Honorable Speaker, let me start with the proposal to increase the import declaration fee. If you look at the presentation by edible oil companies, Honorable Speaker, and the presentation by Kenya Association of Manufacturers, as well as the presentation by the Kenya National Commerce and Industry, Chamber of Commerce and Industry, they were proposing that, Honorable Speaker, the import declaration fee be maintained as it is, because by increasing that fee, you'll actually be increasing the cost of production. The reason being most of our factories and industries depend on imported inputs to produce their outputs. So as a result of that, the solution was that you either maintain the fee as it is so that you don't increase the cost of production. What does the committee propose? The committee has proposed to increase that fee from 2.5 to 3.5%. Meaning automatically, Honorable Speaker, by doing that, you increase the cost of imports which are coming to this country as inputs, and as a result of that, you increase the cost of production. When you increase the cost of production, automatically, Honorable Speaker, that cost will be transferred to the consumer. That will make our goods uncompetitive in terms of price. And that's why you see, Honorable Speaker, in this country, despite us talking about import protection, people are buying things which have been brought from other countries and buying at a cheaper price than we are producing them. So these to me are the critical issues. The second item, Honorable Speaker, is the Railway Development Levy. The edible oil companies did propose that it is now at 1.5. And they propose that we maintain it as it is, and by doing that, we'll have saved the cost of the oil by about 72 shillings per litre. What has happened? We have increased that levy from the proposal of the committee, because now we're talking about the report, from 1.5 to 2.5, Honorable Speaker. So, Honorable Speaker, if you look at that, what have we done? We are likely to increase the cost of production, because that levy will be levied on all the goods which are imported, and then a good which will go through our railway transport system, Honorable Speaker. So again, instead of helping our manufacturing sector, we are making it worse. To make things worse, Honorable Speaker, if you look at this report, the last clause is a proposed new clause to increase fuel maintenance levy by 9 shillings, Honorable Speaker, by 7 shillings. Anytime you touch fuel in this country, Honorable Speaker, you touch the whole sector, you touch the whole economy, and by doing that, Honorable Speaker, you increase the cost of production, and this will directly affect the Wajikos, the Mwendes of this country, and I can tell you for sure, Honorable Speaker, this now bill, the proposed amendments, are going to make this bill more worse, and it's a very good candidate for voting no at the point of voting. With those remarks, Honorable Speaker, I want to submit and say that.
Time up. Kangoko Bowen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, I want to stand to support the finance bill. Mr. Speaker, this morning, the leader of minority, my good friend, Opio Wandai, asked a question as to why this finance bill was so contentious. And since we have had a finance bill since 1963, and the finance bill 2024-25 is creating a serious issues, including demonstration in the streets. Mr. Speaker, I want to say this. What is outside there, Mr. Speaker, or what the people outside there, what they have been told by activists and people who have not read the bill, Mr. Speaker, is completely misleading. Mr. Speaker, I know there has been some contentious clauses in this bill, but Mr. Speaker, as moved by the chair of finance this morning, Honorable Speaker, you will find that the bill which was proposed by Treasury, the committee looked at the bill and they proposed several amendments which are actually people-friendly, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to say that in the original bill, there was a 16% VAT on bread. And Mr. Speaker, the bill in the House, or the report in the House now, as by the committee, that VAT has been dropped. Mr. Speaker, the proposal to have 2.5% motor vehicle tax, that clause now has been dropped. Mr. Speaker, the exercise duty, which was proposed in the original bill, especially on vegetable products, Mr. Speaker, that one has been dropped. The Honorable Speaker, the eco-levy, which is, we have had many of our colleagues here discussing. This one, Mr. Speaker, as many of my colleagues who spoke before me, it can only attract on imported finished products. And Mr. Speaker, we want to move from a trading country to a manufacturing economy. We cannot be a country which is importing almost everything, importing including even a tissue paper. So the reason why this one is there, and we are saying it can only apply to imported finished products. But on locally manufactured products, Mr. Speaker, the tissue papers, the sanitary towels, and anything else locally manufactured, it's not going to attract the eco-levy. Mr. Speaker, some months back, we saw many of our farmers across the country. We saw in Murang'a, we saw in central Kenya, and across the country, that they were required to file their sales using the e-teams. those e-teams, those avocado farmers who were told to give a KRA e-teams, Mr. Speaker, under this finance bill, the e-teams has been dropped. And any other small business which is 1 million and below, Honorable Speaker, is not going to attract the e-teams. Mr. Speaker, the other day, the Cabinet Secretary of Treasury, Mr. Speaker, read the budget, the national budget, 2024-2025, before this House. That budget proposed, including the increment of counties, the monies to the counties to a tune of almost 400 billion. There is an increase in CDF. There is an increase of about 50 million per constituency in electricity. And Mr. Speaker, we can only achieve that if we can pass the finance bill. Mr. Speaker, on the taxation, which we all support, the finance bill proposes to increase taxation on cigarettes and tobacco products, on alcohol, and also on betting, gaming, and gambling, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we have many of our youth who have got lost because of these issues of betting and gambling. The proposal to increase tax, Mr. Speaker, is to make sure that in that space we control our young people and also we direct them to a very good cause in this country. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to say also on the issue of alcohol. We have seen many of our young people, they have got lost and drunk with the cheap alcohol. With the increase in tax, it's going to address the...
Time up. Otienda Molo. You'll get. Give him the mic.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on the outset, I oppose this bill. And even having listened to the chairman on the raft of proposed amendments, to that I say too little, too late. Mr. Speaker, first of all, I think I have myself recorded 120 reasons for rejection of this bill. And Mr. Speaker, it is sufficient that the professional associations have spoken to this, the church has spoken to this, civil society has spoken to this, and Kenyans have spoken to this. There are legal reasons for rejecting this bill. There are financial and economic reasons, Mr. Speaker. There are humanitarian reasons. But more fundamentally, it is a moral question. This regime has lost the capacity for shame and does not even regard Kenyans. Mr. Speaker, I was tempted to attack some of these entities, the church, some ambassadors, because they are the ones who are at the forefront for supporting this regime. But I will forgive them. I will only tell them, it is good you have realized the error of your ways. This regime, Mr. Speaker, needs to understand the etymology of governance. The whole idea of governance is that the people voluntarily relinquish some of their rights and liberties for the government to protect them. But in this case, we have a government that does not want to protect its citizens, it actually wants to decimate them. We must reject that idea. Mr. Speaker, it is important to understand that a budget is made for the people. And traditionally, it is the people who must be listened to. We have a draft bill whose origins is essentially the Bretton Woods institution, the IMF, and secondarily, the World Bank. Mr. Speaker, the Bretton Woods institutions were never made to further the interests of developing countries. The Bretton Woods institutions were established in 1944 essentially to protect and the war-ravaged countries, which essentially were all the developed countries. Therefore, when they come and they give us prescriptions, those are prescriptions that must be taken with a pinch of salt. In the 1980s and the 1990s, they gave us what was called the structural adjustment programs. It is only when Kenya, like other countries, rejected those subs that we started going somewhere. Now we are in a situation where the Bretton Woods institutions have come back in full swing in the face of the executive. It must be rejected. Mr. Speaker, it is important to understand that this bill does not protect and is not the interest of Kenyans. And some people are fear-mongering, saying that if we reject the bill, then we'll be in a crisis. We will not be in any crisis. Like last year, Mr. Speaker, when the High Court stayed the 2023 bill, the 2022 bill continued until finally, the bill was cleared. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, the 2023 bill, which is already draconian enough, but is less draconian than this one, let us reject this bill. The 2023 bill will continue, and let us have a bipartisan approach to budget making so that we can sit down and agree on the basic minimum that must be included in that budget. Mr. Speaker, I reject and I oppose. Thank you very much.
Paul Melly. Julius, sorry, not Paul. Julius Melly, Chair Education. Give him the mic.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, from the onset, I rise to support this bill. Mr. Speaker, this bill is quite progressive, and I want to ask members who have opted not to read the report, and I think as part of the parliamentary procedures, Mr. Speaker, you gave your guidance that every other bill that is tabled in the House procedurally goes to the committee, and the committee did its work very diligently, led by Honorable Kimani Kuria. They went down and met the public. They met the stakeholders. They met all the Kenyans who actually gave their suggestions to this particular bill. Honorable Speaker, as we debate this particular bill, we need to know that as the bill stands now, Honorable Kuria and members of the budget of planning committee, that is a committee, have made a raft of proposals on amendments that are very progressive, very important, and in fact, certain issues that are being discussed by members in this floor are not part of what the committee recommended. The committee recommended a number of things. That one, taxation of certain nature. For example, let me just give an example of the deletion of certain clauses. Clause 124 on motor vehicle tax. Previously, the bill, when it was tabled in the House, Mr. Speaker, had made proposals on motor vehicle taxes, the bread tax, and many others. But the committee, in its wisdom, and having had the Kenyans, and having had the stakeholders, actually deleted most of those clauses. That the members opted to address the public and Kenyans as if the committee has not made its report in the House is not good, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me just go down and enumerate why I support this bill. That clause 23 is actually on the issue of athletes. There was a proposal to tax the income by the athletes. The committee went ahead and deleted that and asked that athletes be incentivized and be allowed, and their monies they earned actually will give an income to this country. On the issue of eco-tax, a lot of imported items have actually been taxed to protect the local manufacturers. And this has been said all the time by the Kenya Association of Manufacturers, the Kenya Private Sector Alliance, that the local manufacturers need to be protected against the large, well-established companies which can actually flood our markets. And in so doing, we are not exporting the jobs. When we buy from foreign countries, and Mr. Speaker, I would just want members to know this, we are actually exporting jobs to those nations. We are actually exporting money. And that is why, from last year's finance bill, we have been able to stabilize the issue of foreign exchange. We have also been able to bring the inflation down. Mr. Speaker, when you look at clauses 34A, 1 and B, the committee proposed to actually delete even taxes on aircraft spare parts and many other things. This is actually the reason why Kenya is a hub in this region, where most of the countries in the region always